Candidate Forum. This evening's event will be recorded and distributed to Chamber and FEDC members, as well as linked on our social media platforms and websites, and aired on FETV at a later date. Let's begin with a few introductions. I will be your host and moderator for today's forum. My name is Jocelyn Reinhardt-Scaife. I am the Chamber and Small Business Director. With me is Sarah Stevens-Krupp, the Project Administrator for FEDC, and she will be our timer. A special thank you to Fostoria City Schools for allowing us to use the PAC, and Matt Swarchek for his assistance with our sound and lighting. Also, thank you to Zach Stump from Scanner Media for assisting with recording the event as well. The current mayor, Eric Keckler, is not seeking re-election after 3 terms in office. Vying for mayor are Don Manell and Elliot Schaefer, who are both here this evening and seated at the first table. 3 at-large council seats will be open as Brian Shaver is running for council president unopposed and leaving his seat open. Ed Logson is not seeking re-election, and Greg Cassidy's term in office will end. 3 candidates are seeking to fill the 3 available seats. Greg Cassidy is running again, while the other 2 candidates would be new to council, Brady Hall and Bob Podak, who have also joined us this evening. We would also like to note that Kristen Van Kuren Coaster has dropped out of the city council race. We have also invited those running for Fostoria City School Board. 3 candidates are seeking to fill 2 seats, as Thomas Guernsey's current term in office will end, along with Tom Grine, who will not be seeking re-election. Thomas Guernsey is running again, while the other 2 candidates would be new to school board, Nicole Jones and Drew Shaver, who have also joined us this evening. We have invited those running for the Tiffin Fostoria Municipal Court judge seat as well, and those judges include Rhonda Best and James Booth, who are both in attendance at the final table. Please help me welcome the candidates and thank them for running for office. Thank you. We will now proceed with the candidate forum. Candidates were asked to come prepared with a brief opening and closing statement, not to exceed 3 minutes. The order of the forum will begin with the municipal judge candidates, school board, city council, and mayoral candidates. Questions asked of the candidates have not been provided to them ahead of time. Questions were submitted by Chamber and FEDC members and compiled by Chamber staff into the questions which will be asked today. The same question will be asked of each candidate, and a time limit for answering will be provided when the question is asked, as well as who will answer the question first. The order of answering each question will move down the table until all candidates have answered the question. Candidates have been seated today in alphabetical order. Our timer, Sarah Stevens-Krupp, will signal each candidate when they have 30 seconds left to answer. When their time concludes, you will hear a bell. We have asked all candidates to wrap up their answer. If they continue to speak after a 30-second grace period, a second bell will sound and your mic will be cut off. There are no opportunities for rebuttals or for candidates to ask questions of one another. For questions, we will start with school board, city council, then mayoral, but for the opening statements, we will start with James Booth.
Is this on? Oh, I think it is. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jim Fruth. I am running for the judge position for Tiffin Fostoria Municipal Court. I first want to thank the Performing Arts Center here for hosting us, and the Fostoria Chamber of Commerce for putting this together. Thank you, Jocelyn, and also Scanner Media and Fostoria High School for sharing this very fine facility. It is a definite honor to be here. You want to know who I am. I have been practicing law for 28 years. I'm a native of Northwest Ohio. I wasn't born here, I chose to live here. I've been here more than half my life. I like this community. I love this community. I went to school at Heidelberg University back then, way back then in the Rock Ages. It was Heidelberg College. I got to know the people when I went to Heidelberg and wanted to come back. And the first opportunity that I had, I came back in 1999. So way back in last century, I came back. So I've been practicing for 28 years. I am married. I have 2 children. I have a junior in high school and a son who's going to be in kindergarten next year. So I have my hands full on top of things. I practice with the law firm of Bement Henry in Tiffin, and I've been there for the last 16 plus years. I've been in private practice for 28 years. I've had a good opportunity to handle a wide variety of cases. I basically handle everything but bankruptcy and workers' compensation cases, criminal cases, civil cases, domestic cases, and the like. So I've gotten to know what makes people tick. I've gotten to know what people's needs are and what their motivations are. I've seen it from both sides, and that happens in a private practice. I've had the opportunity to work on multiple sides of criminal cases. I've represented victims, I've represented criminals, and I've represented the government in cases. And so that is an advantage that I have. The other thing is I haven't been tied to one particular court. Where we are right now is a rural area. It takes me to many of the area counties. And the last time I checked, I've practiced in nearly half of the counties in Ohio, but not consistently. Mostly it's been in this area. Everything that adjoins Seneca County, you'll find me practicing there. So over 28 years, I've gotten to know many different judges and what works and what doesn't work. My opponent and I are here because something didn't work. It was bad. Unfortunately, the previous judge who was on the bench was suspended for a year because of actions that happened in the court. That cannot happen again. I will pledge to deal with everyone with respect and courtesy and dignity. The court deserves respect, but the court also must give respect to people. People are there in crisis. We don't see people in their finest hours. In my line of work, especially in private practice, many people say, well, what's it like on an average day? And we get a lot of domestic cases, family law cases, and we get a lot of criminal law cases. And they're often very similar, just inverse. We tell people that domestic cases, we see people, good people, at their worst. In criminal cases, we see bad people at their best. And so I've gotten used to dealing with folks like that. About my background, I have been a solicitor for the Village of Green Springs. I did that for 4 years. I was on the Tiffin Charter Review Commission in the year 2000. I have been in the Rotary Club in Tiffin for the last 24 years. I served as president. There is, many of you have heard of Crossway, which is a community-based correctional facility. It's a prison alternative for people who have substance abuse problems, typically nonviolent offenders. I've been on that board for 19 years, and I've been the chair for about the last 6 or 7 years. So on a quarterly basis, we find out what's going on, what's working in drug rehab, what's not working in drug rehab. And I'm proud of the work that we've done there. I was also, one of the joys of my life was serving on the Seneca County Board of Elections, which I did for 11 years, and I served as chair for the last 6. I had to give that up to run for this position. So the long and the short is, I have a varied background. I've worked with complex budgets in working with the Seneca County Board of Elections, and I'm ready to apply those skills and help the community that I love. And I ask for your support on November 7th. Thank you.
Thank you. You can go.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank everyone for being here and taking your time out of your busy schedules to come and listen to all the candidates for all of these local offices. Local government is extremely important. It's good to see so many people out here interested in what we're doing with the positions that we're trusted with. So a little bit about myself. I am Judge Rhonda Best. I was appointed by Governor DeWine last year. I started on December 5th of 2022. I was appointed to fill the vacant seat due to the suspension of Mark Repp, who was the former judge of Tiffin Fostoria Municipal Court. So that's been my whole focus since last year. I've been trying to restore the reputation and integrity of that court. There's been some turmoil, and I think I've worked very hard at trying to repair the damage of that process, along with the attorneys that have worked in that court and the staff. Everyone's had a very trying time, and we've just been trying really hard to move forward. So prior to becoming judge, I had a lengthy career, mainly in prosecution, mainly in Seneca County. I have, however, worked in other counties. Before I get into that, I do want to talk to you a little bit about my personal background. So my mother, who's back here in the back of the room, she's from Tiffin. My father, who is no longer with us, is from Fostoria. They were both part of the class of 1971. My mother went to Calvert, my father went to Fostoria until they moved to Tiffin and went to Columbian. So my roots are very deep in this community. I grew up on the north end of Tiffin. I graduated from Calvert High School, and I left to go to the Ohio State University, but I decided to come back. I raised 2 children on my own while I went to law school. So if anyone's concerned about my ability to work hard for the community, I have been doing that my entire life. I always said, folks, you can have things handed to you, or you can work for things. I had some things, come about in my life with those. I had small children depending on me, and I decided that I was going to work hard and make something of myself and become an asset to the community. So that's why I dedicated my entire career to public service. So back in 2006, I had the opportunity to become a Seneca County Assistant Prosecuting Attorney, and I took that opportunity. I prosecuted felony crimes for approximately 7 years. I prosecuted very serious matters and some lower level offender type cases. I prosecuted, felony drug trafficking. I've prosecuted child rape cases where life sentences were involved. I did that for a number of years. After 7 years, it was time to try something else. So I moved to the Civil and Juvenile Division of the Seneca County Prosecutor's Office. When I was in the Civil Division, I did a lot of work as far as representing township and county officials with various legal matters. I also worked in juvenile court assisting children that found themselves in bad places as delinquent children and other incidents. So I use prosecution as a way to not only punish offenders when necessary, but to help people find a new direction and provide them opportunities to change their lives. That's what I've been trying to dedicate my entire career to. So after I was in the juvenile and civil division for a while, I had been given the opportunity to look to a different community to get some experience. If you're in the same court, you're in the same community for your entire career, you're not getting different perspectives, you're not getting new ideas. So still living in Tiffin, I went over to work in Crawford County for a few years, specifically in municipal court. So I have seen the ins and outs of a municipal court for several years. I started there in 2018. So every day since the beginning of 2018, I was in and out of municipal court. While I was at Crawford County Municipal Court, I was asked to come back as special prosecutor for Seneca County several times. I was asked to come to Wyandotte County for special prosecutions as well as Hancock County. I was told that my reputation for being a tough and fair prosecutor was starting to seep into many other counties, so I did get approached quite a bit to do that. I also was asked to become this village solicitor of Chatfield, Nevada, and Bloomville. So I was in 3 different counties as village solicitor. Since I've been judge, I have instituted several programs that I'm very proud of. I have returned municipal court I returned Pivot back to municipal court. Pivot is our drug recovery court. It has not been in municipal court with the judge presiding over it in a few years. It is back in municipal court. I'm very proud of that. I also have worked on upgrading our probation system and providing additional resources for folks in Fostoria to be able to take care of those issues as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now start with the opening statements for school board candidates. You will each have 3 minutes. Go ahead, Mr. Shaver.
All right, first I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight and for the Chamber of Commerce for putting this event on. A little bit about me: I have been born and raised in Fostoria my entire life. I've learned in Fostoria my entire life, having attended preschool through high school in Fostoria. I'm currently a student at Tiffin University, so I'm still within the community and plan to stay for a very long time. Throughout my experiences here, I have gained my Eagle Scout through building benches that are literally outside, and I plan to continue my service to the community. I am also engaged in refereeing of track and field and cross country, and I am prepared to provide my unique experiences as a student for the school district and managing the school district. And that's all I prepared.
Thank you. Go ahead when ready, Nicole.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Jones. I am 44 years old, and I have lived in Fostoria for most of my life. I have a Bachelor's of Science from the University of Findlay. I'm a local business owner of Bojan Environmental Services, and I have 3 daughters, 26, 20, and 13. My oldest daughter is a graduate of UT and currently serving in the Air Force. My middle daughter is a junior at UT for recreational therapy. My youngest daughter is an 8th grader at Fostoria Junior High. I'm a proud 1997 high school graduate. I did not realize it at the time, but our class was special. Our city was filled with pride, spirit, and the belief that our school was a place to be proud of. I continued in life carrying the same spirit that I graduated with, and I refuse to let it go. These kids deserve to hear all the great things about this city, past, present, and future, and how much they matter. I want my daughter to feel the pride her father and I felt growing up. What made it all special was everyone in the community, including you all here. The students, the athletes, the coaches, the teachers, the athletic director, the administration, and the parents that came together to support us all. The reality is that we are currently experiencing a breakdown of this support group. We need to address the breakdowns by reviewing our policies with our problems. The school administration needs to listen to the teachers. The teachers need to listen to the students, to the parents, sorry. The parents need to listen to the teachers. Where do the kids fit in this equation? They are our purpose, and that is what everyone's focus should be. Less about being right and more about the ultimate goal, to raise our students up and provide them with the support they need to succeed. There's always more that can be done, and too often there's an obvious disconnect in wanting to understand each other's point of view. There is a saying of connect before you correct. This is not happening at any level. We can't build our community up or bring in more business and opportunities for our kids without the foundation of what brings business to our community, our school. We need to hunker down and focus on finding new ways of building these kids up. We need to fight for our kids and our community. I know we can change that around, but not with the same mentality we've had. I have put in the work to be a great addition to the board by being involved with the school, the kids, and the community. I have listened to the teachers, parents, and I have connected with the students. I am a motivated, assertive, hardworking mother that sees potential in our youth and our community. I have been intentional in finding the breakdowns by being involved with my child, the teachers and school administration, the coaches, and the students that need a voice. I am concerned for the kids or the parents that do not have a voice. I want to be part of the solution. My findings are moving me to run for school board. I am here to bring diversity, passion, understanding, and accountability back to the Board of Education and the Fostoria Community School Administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Guernsey, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you to the Chamber for hosting this. I'd like to introduce myself for anybody that doesn't know me. I'm Tom Guernsey, lifelong resident here of Fostoria. Doing a little family research, I'm probably 5th generation graduate of Fostoria High School. So why is education important to me? Education has always been important. Come from a family of educators. My grandmother is a retired French teacher from Fostoria. My aunt also was a French teacher here at Fostoria. My mom is a lifelong educator also here in Fostoria. And education has just been instilled in my family for a long time. A great uncle of mine that I was very close to, we would have family fish fries every year. And he was born in the late teens, and he was the first of 9 to actually graduate, and he graduated here from Fostoria. And we'd have these family fish fries, and he said, you know, Tommy, you can have anything you want in the world, but you can never trust the value or how much the value of education means to everything. He said, you know, people can take anything away from you, but they can't, and they can never take away your education. So why did I return to Fostoria? The biggest reason I returned to Fostoria is my love for this community and my family that's pretty much still here. So why school board? You know, there's a lot of things going on. What makes me want to do school board? And that goes clear back to when I was a junior in high school and I was involved with the Buckeye Boys State. And met Governor Voinovich. He came and spoke to the Senate at the Boys State, and he said, you know, the level of your education is what determines how a community thrives. And that's always stuck with me, and that's always been my passion for wanting to continue doing and serving this community that I love so much. And that's why I'm running for another term for the Fostoria City Schools Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to City Council opening statements. We will start with Mr. Podak. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you to FHS for hosting this. It is nice to see this facility. If you haven't ever been in it, it's definitely our tax dollars at work. Many of you know me, some of you don't. I'm new to city government, and I'm seeking a position as councilman at large. I humbly ask for your vote November 7th. Allow me to provide a bit of background to who Bob Podak really is. I was born and raised on a dairy farm north of Bascom, the oldest of 7. And if you know anything about dairy farmers back in the 50s and 60s, it was a lot of work. And if you had kids old enough to do anything, you were doing it. I was doing it. My brothers and sisters were doing it. It wasn't always pretty, and it wasn't always fun, but it's what you did. You got in there and helped out and did what you needed to do. I not only grew up with a hoe in my hand sometimes and a pitchfork, but my parents also realized that it was very important that we be out in the community and do some community service. I was part of the 4-H junior leadership, FFA, and junior fair boards. I volunteered to take the money, took a week off of work, and handled the gates at the Seneca County Fair for over 5 years. And you say, well, that's nice that you did that, but I am self-employed. I work under the umbrella of financial design agency, so when you don't go to work and you're self-employed, you usually don't get paid, which is true. It was kind of a joke this morning at Good Shepherd when we had that forum, but I'm one of the few people, I'm sure, in this room that attended a one-room school, grade 1 through 8. I left in the 6th grade and went to Lakota High School, and I'll tell you that first through the 6th grade was a rather inspirational experience from the standpoint of learning from your peers and learning that you had to listen when another class or another grade was having their lessons done. Once I graduated from Lakota in '73, I went on to Owens Community College. I have an agribusiness degree that I used for a period of about 15 years. I managed grain elevators and farm co-ops in 3 different areas and 1 in southern Michigan. Wanting to settle back in Fostoria in 1984, I found a house north of town. And when I walked into the front room and looked out the window, I could see across the fields, and there was my grandfather's barn. He grew up and owned a farm that's right beside where the airport is today. So at that point, I did feel at home. We sent the kids to St. Wendland. I started working for financial design, and I've been there like 27 years now. And In 2000, we became business owners and bought the Fostoria Laundromat and Side Door Ice Cream, and Peg and I ran that for quite some period of time. She passed away suddenly in 2009, and I kept the business for a few more years, but it was more of her heart and soul that was into that, and not mine. I saw Fostoria change. Our business there changed a lot. Airfoil was here, Honeywell was here, Atlas was here, Scott and Food Town were here, IGA, Kmart closed. It wasn't business as usual.
Mr. Podak, you've reached your time. Mr. Hall, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks to the school for hosting. Thanks to the Chamber of Commerce for having us all here. It's always a pleasure. My name is Braden Hall, and I humbly ask for your vote November 7th, Fostoria City Council at large. A little bit about me. I grew up outside of, between Tiffin and New Riggle, attended New Riggle High School. After high school, I attended Ashland University for my undergrad in business. And then I was lucky enough to get on board at the Manel Milling Company after college. Started out as an intern. I've currently been there for 6 years, holding various positions within the sales department. Like I said, I started out as an intern, then I moved to a customer service rep, inside sales rep, and now I'm a sales manager. And the big takeaway from all those positions is the communication between customers, communication between co-workers, dispatch, mills. So that's really what I want to bring to the Fostoria City Council that's been missing, I believe, in previous positions. While at Manel, I was able to go back to school and obtain my MBA from Bowling Green State University. And then in my free time, I enjoy being on various boards within the community. I am on the Geary Family YMCA board, I'm on the Cawbish Memorial Library board, and finally I'm on the United Way board as well. And all those, you're working with various people, all from different backgrounds, similar to what the Fostoria City Council would be like, bringing together people from all different backgrounds, working together for a common goal. I moved to Fostoria about 5 years ago and absolutely just love the community, love the people. You're not going to find better people in a community. Everyone rallies around each other, and it feels like home. I am now happily married, and I recently welcomed a son into this world. He's now 2 months old, so we've definitely had our hands full there. But I look forward to raising him here in Fostoria. The topics I'd like to support while on City Council: the city infrastructure. While you're on fiscal emergency, there are things that you have to cut corners on, and I believe city infrastructure is outdated and necessary funds need to be put towards that, and I hope to support them going forward. Safety services and first responders. We have a young police department, we have a young fire department. They need the necessary training to do the best job that they can do. And then finally, Fostoria is facing a housing crisis. 70% of our homes here in town are rentals. We need to bring those back to ownership, and that way we can bring in more people for jobs and possible expansion in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cassidy, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I, like everybody else, am grateful for the Findlay City School System, the Chamber, FEDC, putting this on, giving us an opportunity to identify what we stand for, and I'm grateful for the interest in your presence by being here tonight. I grew up in Fostoria, went 12 years to St. Warren, graduated, went to Tiffin University. I started my career here at the old Fostoria distribution in the transportation department. Not many people know this, but Fostoria was really a center of changing times in transportation, in that this is one of the real true places where supply chain and inventory management, a lot of the buzzwords that they use today in practice today started. And I was very fortunate to work with some of the smartest minds in that industry at that time. I've been in trucking and warehousing my entire career. I own Findlay Truck Line. It was formed in 1931 and still going strong today. I've been on council for 1.5 terms. I filled a unexpired term back in 2017. So I bring to the table a term and a half of experience during some very critical times to this city. And very quickly, the things that I really stand for, I'm very conservative. I have a very conservative business approach to things. My biggest problem is trying to adjust from the speed of business to the speed of government. I'm a very strong advocate of our safety forces. Fire and police, both top-notch, very good at what they do. Fostoria is one of the safest communities you'll ever live in. I'm a strong advocate for the parks and recreation and have been a very big supporter of the splash pad. I am very much in favor of getting rid of some of the blight, some of the zoning issues in Fostoria. And if you're a slumlord, don't vote for me, because I'm going to make your life miserable. I'm opposed to the expansion of Sunny Farms, and always have been. And I'm also an advocate of trying to make our communication and customer service with the city government much better than it is. You call the city building, somebody needs to answer the phone. If they're not there, they need to call you back on a timely basis. I'm going to lobby very hard for that in the next term. Basically, that's what I stand for and who I am. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to the mayoral candidates. Mr. Schaefer, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chamber. Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you, Fostoria High School. I'll give a little introduction on my history. So I'm a lifelong resident of Fostoria. I'm 33 years old. I'm married with 2 kids, and my background is in digital media and communication. My journey started off at St. Wendelin and here in Fostoria. I was fortunate enough through St. Wendelin to also attend Buckeye Boys State, where I had my first introduction into local politics and the government, and I was actually able to be a mayor in that platform as well, which I thought was very cool. After high school, I went to the University of Findlay, where I worked as a videographer, a photographer, and I also managed the radio station there with multiple DJs underneath me, and we had to schedule out different time frames for all the different shifts. While at the University of Findlay, I had the privilege to having a small internship with the Findlay Chamber of Commerce, in which I was able to then be a part of their Hancock Leadership Program. After doing that, I graduated from the University of Findlay with my degree, or bachelor degree, in digital media and communications. I worked for a small company called Friends Business Source, which then became Friends Office, and I got to do a number of different things, from digital media, web design, print design. I developed whole catalogs and designed them myself. After Friends, I became a Google trusted photographer, and I would go into businesses and do 360-degree virtual tours within those different facilities, and then connect them to the mapping system that Google had. After doing that project, I got a job at Whirlpool as a supplier quality technician. and I was able to work with multiple different people from many different walks of life across the world and across the state. I worked with people on the line, engineers, and I coordinated the containment of defective parts in those different in that facility. And I was able to communicate with multiple different engineers, people on the line, like I said, and coordinate and collaborate with them. After Whirlpool, I was recruited to work at Marathon as a operations analyst, a pipeline operator in their operations unit, where I had multiple different monitors with multiple different pipelines, and I would control the opening and closing of valves. I'm told that I need to wrap this up. I've got a lot more, but I'd like to emphasize some of my goals while I'm here. So the Parks and Path program is one of the major things, but I think the most important thing that the city needs to focus on is strategic planning for city communication, creating engaging and active communication so that people understand what's going on, similar to what we see in Findlay. They have information that allows people to understand when there's different road work going on or indicating when things will change within the community. I also want to look at local business and train tourism marketing, city beautification, and infrastructure development. And I look at this as you being the investors and stakeholders of our city, and me working with you to communicate, educate, and collaborate together as citizens, businesses, and organizations. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you. Mr. Manel, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Jocelyn, and thank you to the Chamber of Commerce, the city schools, and to all of you for taking time out of your day to attend tonight. At the last forum, I spoke about the perma-crisis that Eric Keckler had to manage through. Today, we can thank Eric for successfully managing through those crises, because in the next 4 years, Fostoria is going to accomplish great things. First, we will emerge from fiscal emergency. Next year, we will see the construction of a new splash pad in City Park. We should also see plans for a new overpass to be constructed over the Town Street Railroad tracks. Work should begin on the conversion of Reservoir 4 into a wetlands recreational area. We should see recycling return to Fostoria and a new handicap entrance to the city building. In 2025, we should see the repaving of US 23 completed. This means that we will have to have the matching funds available to begin the project. We should also begin to scope out our infrastructure and plan for the repairs and replacement of our aged water and sewer lines. We will begin construction of a new airport hangar, see the construction of the SCAT garage on Jackson Street, and we will see what an arborist can do to create an urban forestry project within the city of Fostoria. These are exciting times for Fostoria if we have the proper leadership and management in place to oversee all the projects, as well as to manage the ongoing requirements of the city. I have the experience, the knowledge, and the management ability to accomplish these projects and look forward to tackling them as your next mayor. I humbly ask for your vote so that I can lead Fostoria into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now begin the Q&A portion of the candidate forum. We will start with the school board candidate questions. Dr. Guernsey, we will start with you and then move down. The first question is, what work have you or will you do to improve diversity, equity, and inclusion in the district? And you will have 2 minutes to respond. Please let me know if you need me to repeat it.
As a district, we've worked very hard to become a very diverse area. A lot of the things that we've accomplished through our time period here on the board, we've done a lot with our academics and our curriculum, trying to look into different classes that we can offer, different elective classes that do appeal to a lot of different populations of the diversity there. A lot of things that we've done too, we've also looked at ways to be more inclusive with some of our special needs kids. We've started an autism unit. We've also started the academy, which is the area where kids don't always learn in maybe the traditional setting. That could be anywhere from people working online just for gaining credits because they don't do well in the traditional classroom. Also, people that have sometimes a little bit of a behavior problem. That can be another location that they can be used and learn and still graduate. We've also done things for our gifted kids. We're working on better identifying gifted kids and expanding those services. We've also developed partnerships with the Fostoria Learning Center to advance our CCP program, which is the College Credit Plus program, and that we are in partner with Terra State Community College. So we're offering a lot of things for kids that way. We do things with Project More, which help kids that also have trouble with reading. And we've also brought in the Leader in Me, which is a program that helps with kids making positive choices, and it bases on the 7 habits. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
What work have you or will you do to improve diversity, equity, and inclusion in the district? You will have 2 minutes.
Well, I am proud of our city of Fostoria. We are already a very diverse city, and that is something that I'm proud of, that our student population is actually proud of. When you graduate here, many of us have graduated from here, and that's something that we can leave here knowing that we've been exposed in different parts of life, and that's something that we offer as a community and a school already. As far as equity, I think that we need to be more concerned about our open enrollment population, that where the students are open enrolling in other schools, that is affecting our bottom line for our schools. Other schools make money off of us when we open enroll, and we lose money. Also, I would like to see an improvement in our athletic programs, which I am already involved with, increasing the youth involvement in our athletics program. I am a volunteer at the YMCA for cross country and track, and I think developing and growing our youth programs athletically is just going to help our school continue to grow in the athletics. And the last one, what was it was diversity, equity, inclusion. I think that in order to improve the inclusion, we all need to be open-minded and less worried about always being right. I think we need to be more worried about everybody being able to connect.
Thank you. Mr. Shaver, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. But,
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
On the topic of diversity, as a student at Fostoria, I was able to experience a lot of experiences that I know I would have never experienced had I went anywhere else. So I'm very proud to say that I am from Fostoria and the diversity that Fostoria has created. On par with that, the equity, however, with the gifted students is quite not there, I would say. As a gifted student myself, I've sometimes found struggles in trying to get the resources I need to excel my education. As an honor student, especially, I will recall during 8th grade, I was actually behind the regular classes in my honors program due to ineffective teaching. But throughout high school, I was able to access the resources I need to pursue higher education through the CCP program. And I know a lot of my friends were also able to do so, and some did voice their frustrations in that not everybody was offered the same opportunities due to space limitations. For example, my sophomore year, the PSAT was only offered to 20 students, and usually everybody takes that at other districts. So I felt that was quite limiting to everybody's success and ability to access that. So in the future, I would like to look forward to making sure that opportunity is available to everyone who wants to take the PSAT so they can get those scholarship experiences. on the topic of working with everybody is making sure we are inclusive as a class. My class was very inclusive of everybody, and we are proud to be that way. And yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Shaver, please keep the microphone. You will start the next question. As we are all aware, the district received a 2.5 rating from the state report card. What is your reaction, and how will you respond as a school board member? You have 2 minutes.
My reaction as a just recent student, I believe that 2.5 does not match our district. I believe we are a much higher district, but because of our lack of high test scores and lack of administrative support for the teachers, because through my time in class, my teachers spent a lot more time dealing with behavioral problems and assignments issued by administration instead of actually teaching. That was a detriment to the education of me and my fellow classmates, which brought down test scores, which in turn brought down our rating. In Fostoria, I believe we have really good teachers, but because of the requirements of some of the things they have to do, they are not able to teach for their full 45-minute period, which doesn't allow teachers to be able to gain their full lesson for the day. However, there was some good success this last school year in the 5th grade, and I think it's important we look at what those teachers were doing so that way we can implement more across the board decisions across the school districts. That way we can increase our test scores, which will then in turn increase our rating. Some other activities we need to do to increase our rating is we need to definitely look at what the state wants to see, and we need to make sure we're showing the state what they need to see so that way our rating can increase, and then hopefully we'll bring back some of those up and enrolled students. That's all I have.
Thank you. Nicole, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes.
As we are all aware, the district received a 2.5 rating from the state report card. What is your reaction, and how will you respond as a school board member? You will have 2 minutes.
Fostoria City Schools needs to face the reality of its Ohio school report card and other ratings within the Ohio Department of Education. I believe our scores should be a wake-up call to acknowledge our shortcomings. Sure, there are other schools with similar demographics that face comparable issues: teacher shortages, bus driver shortages, discipline issues, socioeconomic disadvantages, etc. However, many schools are experiencing the same difficulties and issues, yet performing better. Too often, we use these excuses as our crutch. Our kids are the future of Fostoria. We need to work harder, be intentional, and come together to prepare our students to continue building the community into a better place. The teachers have limited time in the classroom, and parents have limited time at home with their kids. We need the time that is allotted in the classroom to be used to its maximum potential. We need to provide the teachers with the resources, the tools, and policies to make sure that this is happening.
Thank you. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I've got it.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
All right, thank you. 2.5-star rating. Yes, it's improvement. It's not where we want to be. Obviously, we want to be 3 stars or higher. But I think this is a great district, and I think we're making great strides and great improvements. I think we have fantastic teachers here. I mentioned that probably at our last board meeting that we had. And I think everybody focuses a lot on the test scores. Yes, the test scores are important, the ratings are important, I understand that, but I think you look at all the positive things that we do offer here as a district, and I think so many times people get so bogged down in the negative aspect of it that they don't look at what all we do as a district to offer our children, and to look at what we're doing to try to provide as many opportunities for these students to learn as much as possible, whether it is at the lower end of the spectrum or at the higher end of the spectrum. We are, working constantly doing things like double dosing with some of the kids, trying to increase those test scores, and a lot of times those, this is one snapshot, but I don't think this really speaks to what all of our kids are learning here on a daily basis. I know a lot of our students are very successful. Our graduates have been doing great things. And speaking myself as a parent of 2 children in this district, I'm confident in the education that they're receiving. But I just think we need to continue and work with our one plan that we have developed here as a district and continue to work on it to advance what positions and plans are already in place so we can continue to keep excelling.
Thank you. Nicole, what are some of the top issues facing the district? You have 2 minutes.
Some of the top issues that I believe are facing the district are the disconnect between the parents, the school, the administration. Many times I've experienced issues with trying to meet with the teachers, trying to meet with the students, and I think that could really help if we would work more together. But I think a lot of the problem is that the policies inside the school that were already established and set up by the Board of Education are not being followed. There are many policies out there that, and review processes that haven't been followed for years. The athletic department wasn't doing reviews of their own personnel, and I would say that I would assume almost that it wasn't helping or happening in the school. So I think that there's a lot of issues with the policies not being followed. I know a lot of the teachers have concerns with not being able to control the classrooms, to have the educational time in the classroom, to be able to teach the students. So my goal is to get on the board to see what policies that we can make sure that we're enforcing that are going to help the teachers, help the students.
Thank you. Mr. Shaver, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
What are some of the top issues facing the district? You have 2 minutes.
From my perspective as a student, I witnessed some of the top issues being the teacher administrator disconnect. You'd have one administrator saying one thing, then you'd have another saying a different thing. Teachers didn't know what to do. Then my senior year, they implemented blanket policies that, quite frankly, I don't think worked as from the student perspective, because when you implement a blanket policy, there's no room for exceptions or exceptions for when you need to make an exception to get things done. For example, you want to play Kahoot in class, you can't use your phone, and so there's a problem there. But I also find that a problem with the school district is additionally the amount of administrative work that are thrown onto the teachers that prevents them from being able to teach during their time. For example, with the blanket policy on phones, you had to stop class, warn the student. If the student talked back, there was more time wasted, Then you had the vape detectors in the bathrooms. Instead of the administrators responding to those, you had the teachers responding to those. So if the vape detector went off in the middle of class, the teacher had to stop their lecture and go to the restroom to investigate that. Same thing was for students roaming the hallways. It was not the administrators catching those students, it was the teachers who had to stop class in the middle of lecture to go deal with that. And I find that to be a very big problem because, if it's 3 or 4 occurrences in a class period, that's 10 minutes of that class period that's gone, so you've just wasted 10 minutes. So now you only have 35 minutes of lecture compared to 45. That's all for me.
Thank you. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Sure.
What are some of the top issues facing the district?
So top issue facing the district, one of the things that we've talked about quite a bit, I would say even the last 2 school years, is probably teacher retention, teacher turnover. And that not only has been a problem here, but it's been a problem with education in general, whether that's because of the pandemic coming out of the pandemic, but we're seeing a lot of, turnover statewide with education, with educators, a lot of people not going into education. So that's been one thing that we've really looked at here, trying to see, and we did create the HRPR position. One of the things looking at trying to look at employee morale. What can we do to try to make this a more enticing and a place to not only learn, but to teach and want to live as a community. Also looking at, sub-coverages. Those are some of the difficult areas. And then looking at opportunities and things that we can expand to offer the kids that are learning in our facilities. So that was some of the challenges that we brought with and trying to encourage, what could be used and could be advanced in more elective type classes to make more offerings, things that we can do to provide. So there's different things to entice kids to actually embrace their education and continue to improve upon that. So I think those would be, in my opinion, some of the biggest challenges at this point facing our district.
Thank you. This will be the final question for school board. Mr. Shaver, you'll start this one. Although each candidate is qualified for this position, what can you offer that others cannot? You will have 2 minutes.
Well, for me, this is a pretty easy question. As a recent graduate of the most recent class, having spent 15 years of my life in Fostoria City Schools, I'm able to offer my perspective as a student and the perspectives of my classmates who I'm still in good contact with, and the ability to make procedure and policy that will regulate the future classes of the school district, so that way we can have more effective classes for the students and make everything better for a better experience for the students. It's that way we can get a better education to use in our future lives, whether that be in the community of Fostoria or across the world. That's all.
Thank you. Nicole, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes.
Although each candidate is qualified for this position, what can you offer that others cannot? You have 2 minutes.
I offer pride in our city, in our school, in our students, in our community. I am very energetic. I have connected with the students. I have connected with the teachers. I have connected with the coaching staff. And I'm very involved in the community. As the school is part of the community, it's a big part of the community. I'm very assertive. I'm very good at problem solving, and I will be an advocate for the community and for the kids in the school and the teachers in the school.
Thank you. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I got it.
Okay.
So I think what I can offer, obviously my experience from doing this for a number of years now, but it's just all about the passion that I have for this community. This is my home, except for the 8 years that I was away at college. And even then I was back most weekends visiting. So, you look at the accomplishments, the things that we've already done in the last 16 years, the things that we would want to continue to do. So I guess I look at it, just hope that everybody still has confidence in what we have accomplished as a district, and I would ask that you would consider voting for me.
Thank you. We will now begin with the City Council candidate questions. Mr. Cassidy, you will be up first.
An attorney in some issues, there's a variety of things that on council that you have to deal with. And personally, I'm guided by, I've said this time and time again, but I truly believe it. I make my decisions based on what's good for Fostoria, not what's good for Greg Cassidy, but what's good for Fostoria. And that simplifies my job somewhat. Other times it makes it a little more complicated, but at the end of the day, I'm strictly driven by what's good for this community today and what's going to be good for it tomorrow.
Thank you. Mr. Hall, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
What do you believe is the role of City Council in the Fostoria community?
Yes, the role of City Council, we have a duty to be transparent. We need to tell our stakeholders, the citizens of Fostoria what's going on and how we're working to improve the city. We need to keep open communication lines through the administration of the city, the police force, fire department, and then also serving other stakeholders in the city, including the school, businesses, always trying to do what's best for the community.
Thank you. Mr. Podak, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. You have 2 minutes.
I think one of our biggest problems is that the lack of transparency. I think we need to be more open and honest with what's going on. We've already got some of the best things in place as far as employees in this city and safety forces, but we do have people who don't seem to be accountable to do things they're supposed to do, and I think they need to be held accountable. I will be committed, I will be accountable, I will communicate, and I will be transparent. I've used the word before, act. I've also been very concerned about the water, and I've been a voice for that and where it comes from. Not so much what's coming out of the tap, but that it comes 500 feet from the landfill. I've opposed that, and I think that's one of our biggest issues that we're going to have coming down to the council. I appreciate that they've voted to not in favor of an expansion. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to have to listen. I've always been a problem solver. I've worked for myself. And if you don't listen or answer the questions or figure out the answer, you're not going to be around long. So I'm going to try and do all that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Podak, you will start the next question. All 3 of you will be serving on City Council. What are your top 3 goals for your term? You will have 2 minutes.
Number one is we need to find an alternative water source. The water that comes to the Fostoria treatment plant comes from either rainwater or it comes from the Portage River, which is 500 feet from the landfill. And if you think that's going to be uncontaminated for the next 50 to 100 years, I can guarantee you that you're wrong. The other thing is that we need to have people on board who are going to answer the phone or call people back when they get a message. You can't run a business or a city without that type of communication. There's certain things that you have to do to be a good public servant, and one of them is you have to be available or you have to be there or call them back when they need called back. You also have to listen, and I'm going to try and do that. I think Joy may say I don't listen too well sometimes, but I try. And as far as a problem solver, I think we've got all the people in line to be able to do that. So consequently, I think we just need to get those things in line. Our communication, to be transparent, let the public know what we're doing, because we're doing their job. They're the ones that are electing us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hall, would you like the question repeated?
Yes, please.
All 3 of you will be serving on City Council. What are your top 3 goals for your term? You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, so I touched on this on my introduction, but my big 3, city infrastructure, it's getting older. You know, we have sewer lines that need replaced, we have roads that need improvement, we have other areas where we just need to clean it up. And fiscal emergency makes it difficult. We're heading out of that, so we should have the funds to improve the city infrastructure. Another big topic is the housing crisis, and that 70% of houses are rentals. That needs to improve. We need more ownership, and we can make that happen by putting in place a rental agreement where we hold landlords accountable. Everyone who lives in a rental deserves to have clean running water, deserves to be warm in the winter, and be safe in their own house. And sometimes they don't always have access to those things in their rentals. So with a rental agreement, we can bring in inspectors, clean up those properties, and clean up the city of Fostoria. And then lastly, the safety services and first responders. We just need to continue to support them, keep crime off our streets, and keep all the convicts and felons. We need to keep them behind bars.
Thank you. Mr. Cassidy, would you like me to repeat the question? Okay, you have 2 minutes.
The first goal I have is I'd like to see us get out of financial emergency. And one of my goals is we get out of it, we stay out of it. So there's kind of a sense of urgency to get out of financial emergency, but it has to be done on the right terms. And a big step was made here a few weeks ago when we hired a new finance director through Mr. Manel's involvement with some people that he had became aware of. And I think that we have a finance director now that is second to none in this entire area for a community our size. I'm very impressed. We're going to work very quickly to achieve the goal of getting out of financial emergency, and I feel we'll stay out of it. Another thing that really concerns me is the customer services community. Coming from business and running a business, customer service is a very important aspect of continuing to grow a business. And I think we need to take a look at it and create a culture where the phone rings, you answer, you take messages, you return calls. The third component is zoning. I alluded to the idea of dealing with slumlords. It impedes our ability to put Fostoria's best foot forward when people drive through our town and look at all the rundown homes and ill-kept facilities. So those are three. And I'm going to add one on my own. I really want to see us work hard as a council and with the city administration to do everything possible to enhance the stability of our employment. Trying to retain good firefighters, good policemen, good employees at the water department, the sewer department. These are important jobs. They require education. They require, in many cases, licensing. And I think we have to be creative on what we can do to retain some of the best of the best.
Thank you. We will now begin with the mayoral questions. Mr. Manel, we will start with you. Serving as the mayor is not a simple 9-to-5 job and requires a large time commitment. How do you plan to manage the heavy workload and high expectations from the community? You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I don't think I've ever held a 9-to-5 job. It begins when you get up in the morning and it ends when you go to bed at night. You work Saturdays, you work Sundays. That's the way I've always worked. That's the way I was brought up. That's my work ethic. I will be in the office or I will be on city business. I will be there at different times of the day and night. We operate 3 shifts in the police department, the fire department. They deserve to see me on second and third shift on occasion. It's just part of my work ethic to be there on the job and see what's going on, know who's doing the job, and not only know what they're doing, but know how they're doing it. We have a great workforce in this city. They've been very loyal over very difficult times, and they deserve more credit than they get. We have good people in our street department, our water department, our sewer department, our fire department, and our police department. This is one of the safest communities in the area, thanks to our safety service officers, patrolmen, firemen. They deserve the credit for this. It's not the leadership, it's not me, it's not city council. They're the workers, they get the job done. I look forward to working with them, and I look forward to working with these three candidates for city council because they're going to bring a lot to council. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schaefer, would you like
could
me
you
to
repeat
repeat?
the question?
Serving as mayor is not a simple 9-to-5 job and requires a large time commitment. How do you plan to manage the heavy workload and high expectations from the community? You have 2 minutes.
Right. In any job, I think work-life balance is important. Balancing your family, balancing your community, and balancing your role. And for me, I've never been one to shy away from hard work. And I've always been the person that people have come to when something was difficult to do and they needed to get it done quickly, efficiently, and effectively. And so, I mean, I spoke on a couple different points of the different companies that I've worked with, but I myself have done volunteer opportunities where I put in long hours, and I've done it pretty much by myself for the most part. Whether it was doing a veterans event and taking 30 veterans out on Lake Erie and then treating them to a day of fishing with 30 professional bass anglers, or working late hours trying to find a perfect role for someone, a single mom looking for a nice job for her family so that she can provide them with something that is just, more than just a meager salary. And so I'm passionate about people, and I'm passionate about this city, and I think it's important, and it is important to put in enough time to focus on these issues that we're currently encountering, whether it be water, the landfill, or just our environment in general. Thank you.
Thank you. You will begin the next question.
Okay.
We want to hear each candidate share an example of when they showed leadership in either taking a controversial position or bringing people together to find a solution on a controversial issue. You will have 3 minutes.
So, in one of my roles, we had an emergency, and the whole plant was shut down, and people were just beside themselves. They didn't know what to do, and we were trying to boil down what kind of process we could put together in order to get our facility running. And long story short, people were just beside themselves. They couldn't figure it out, and I said, well, what if we do this specific thing? And it was just a basic cleaning protocol. And by doing and looking outside of the box and figuring out, that I had the opportunity to make a difference, even when I was in maybe a lower role. I spoke up, I said something, and that difference allowed our company to save tons of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so that sticks out to me as something that, you may be someone who may not have a ton of authority, but I think you're important nonetheless.
Thank you. Mr. Manel, would you like me to repeat the question? You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Many of you may remember all of the tough times we had with Fostoria City Hospital, Fostoria Community Hospital. I was sitting at lunch one day, and there was a group sitting at the next table, and they were the search committee for the president, for people to run for the hospital board. And after lunch, I stopped to talk to them and asked what they were doing. They told me, and I said, I would be interested in running for the hospital board. As a businessman, healthcare costs are the most uncontrollable cost of doing business. I wanted to learn more about healthcare, about the system. I was elected to that board of trustees. At the first meeting, I was elected president of the board of trustees. Before the second meeting, the hospital administrator quit. The group that was managing the hospital was in my office during the next week, begging to replace the administrator and to keep their contract. The fact that they were begging told me that they were making too much money on our Fostoria Hospital. So I said, no, you're fired. At the next board meeting, I explained to the board exactly what we had done and what we had to do to find a new administrator, and the board supported me, and the staff at the hospital supported me. That's when I learned what great people we have in Fostoria. That hospital staff was amazing. And we went about and we hired our own individual administrator to run the hospital. That became a major change for the hospital because the management companies didn't care about Fostoria. All they cared about was taking the money out of the city.
Thank you. Mr. Manel, you'll begin the next question. Give us an example of one of your planned initiatives and how you will fund it. You have 2 minutes.
Well, I think future initiatives will be handled, depending upon what kind of initiatives they are, like the splash pad, will be handled very similarly. We will raise money from the community, we will raise money from grants, and we will work hard to find things to make those happen. The splash pad will be built next year, and there's another project coming down the road that will be financed in similar manner, and we will raise the funds for that project so that it will be done hopefully the year after to improve our Parks and Recreation Department.
Thank you. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No.
Okay. You also have 2 minutes.
Yeah, I would like to echo something similar to what he said, as in fundraising, grants. Grants are a big thing within our community. I think that if we could leverage more grants similar to what Renee got with the tree grant that we currently got $1 million for our community, I think that would be great to see. But specifically targeting parks and paths, I think that we need more areas for students to be able to travel from point A to point B across the city. And then also, I'd like to get some boardwalks, something that would be nice for people to walk on and stand on around our waterways and in our parks, and then start critically thinking and creating plans around how we could improve those areas together and collaborate with everybody and figure out what kind of strategies are currently going on and then start implementing them together. Can you repeat the question one more time?
Give us an example of one of your planned initiatives and how you will fund it.
Yeah, and so overall, I think that just working together with fundraising and grants, I think we could be successful with finding some sort of income to fulfill the Parks and Paths program.
You will begin the next question. This is the final question. The public often asks, how does this election affect me and how will it improve my life? If elected mayor, how would you answer that? You have 2 minutes.
Well, I mean, this election is going to be a significant one. I mean, you're looking at issue 1, which is rights over a person's body, and then you've got issue 2, which is a marijuana that, you can make your own decision on those 2 issues, but one way or another, they're going to drastically impact the way our society looks. And then having someone like me compared to another person, you'll have someone who's energetic, young, and looking for technology and nature and focusing on everything in your environment so that it can better help your mind, your body, and your soul. I'm looking to improve the structures that will help the citizens directly.
Thank you. Mr. Manel, would you like me to repeat the question?
In my opening statement, I mentioned all of the projects that we have coming down the pike for Fostoria. All of those will affect the community and the citizens of Fostoria. Once we take the Iron Triangle and eliminate it by putting in the overpass, the safety forces will be able to reach the Iron Triangle. That will greatly affect those people living in that area. The splash pad will give a place for our youngsters to go and enjoy a hot summer day. Getting SCAT new facilities in Fostoria will improve transportation availability to people. All of these projects will affect the people. Continuing to have a good police and fire force, keeps us safe. And I said before, Fostoria is a really safe community. It's a great place to live and to raise children. All of these will affect Fostoria as we go forward. Good leadership is needed to make these projects happen and to bring them to fruition, and I will offer that leadership.
Thank you. We have now concluded the question portion. We will begin with our closing statements. We will start with the judge candidates. Mr. Fruth, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. I would enjoy having the title of judge. I'm asking for your support on November 7th to make that happen, but I'm much more interested in doing the work than having the honor of the title. And for that reason, I'm asking for your support. I believe I am the best candidate. I wouldn't be running if I didn't think I was. I went back and looked at the performance of the court over the last approximately 8 to 10 months, and I was disappointed by what I found. I obtained numbers from the Ohio Supreme Court on their webpage. I obtained numbers from the Seneca County Auditor, and they provided information as well from the Ohio Supreme Court. What I found is for the time period between December 5th, 2022 and June 30th, 2023, the only numbers that are available to date, we have relied on visiting judges. These are retired judges from other communities, people who don't live here, and they've come 52 times in that time period between December 5th and June 30th to do our work. They don't know us. When you are going to the polls, you're going to be voting for one of the two of us. I think you have the right to expect me to do the work. I will be there. You may not like me, but I will be there. As a result, the same numbers indicate that my opponent has handled, in that same time period, less than 25% of the criminal cases that were brought before the court and less than 20% of the civil cases. Again, I will be there. I will do the work. My opponent has also talked about the pivot program. I'm glad that Seneca County Judge from Common Pleas Court, Damon Alt, is here because I will have to work with him if I'm elected. I will have to work with Judge Schuff if I'm elected. In the first half of 2023, only 6 people from Tiffin Fostoria Municipal Court were admitted into the pivot program. We're not going to solve drugs that way, folks. If we're going to attack the drug problem, we need to cooperate and collaborate not only with law enforcement, the prosecutor's office, the defense bar, and the other courts. And I think we need to re-examine the policies that led to the underutilization of the pivot program. One of the things that I would like to attack first off in speaking with Judge Schuff and Judge Alt is whether it's appropriate that we continue to allow convicted criminals on probation to do medical marijuana. Currently, that is the policy of the Tiffin Fostoria Municipal Court. I'm not sure that that's consistent with getting on top of the drug problem. I want to find out if it needs to be changed. Mr. Cassidy talked about slumlords not being a friend of his. I agree. Nobody wants to support a community that is in disrepair. We need to take a look at a fresh approach to zoning cases. We need to take a look at making sure that people don't just get a modest fine and laugh at the court on their way out saying, just the cost of doing business. Are we getting people's attention that way? We're not. One of the things that I would like to do is something that Judge Hadachek did for years here, and that is involve the criminal defendants in community service. If you're a slumlord and you're not going to take care of your own facility and you're not going to listen to the court when we issue a fine, and you're going to laugh at it, that's not going to cut it for me. I'm going to have you do community service. If you can't figure out how to do things in your own home, in your own facility, you're going to have to figure out how to do it for the city of Fostoria and clean up our town. Likewise, I'm concerned about the non-collection of fines that criminal defendants have been issued. It's been too long since we've had fine and cost hearings in the court. It's been over 2 years. Whether you liked them or not, Judge Rep had monthly fines hearings to find out why people were not paying their fines. I want to bring that back. It doesn't matter what somebody's fine is if you don't collect it. There's a problem in letting people off the hook. I don't want to give a Fostoria discount to criminals and slumlords. That's what I'm here for, and that's what I'm about. So I ask for your support. I'd like to do the work, and I will thank you for your vote on November 7th.
Thank you. First, I need to respond to some very inaccurate information that has been presented to the public here today. As far as the statistics of the number of cases in Tiffin Fostoria Municipal Court, since I have become judge, we have processed over 5,000 cases. The bulk of those are handled by me. We have had some visiting judges appear in the court. That is because of conflicts in certain cases that I prosecuted. If I was the original prosecutor on the case, that is not fair or ethical for me to hear the rest of that case as a judge. So there have been several cases that had to be handled. The Supreme Court provides that visiting judge program and a very huge taxpayer savings in lieu of the court having a full-time magistrate or having acting judges that in the past the court has spent significantly higher amounts of money on than the visiting judges. The visiting judges may have been there some different times for one case alone or to cover a day where I had new judge orientation that is required by the Supreme Court of Ohio, and it does benefit the community because who wants a judge who does not understand the ins and outs of being a judge and the rules? Additionally, it's been alleged that I'm only handling about 25% of the cases. That's completely inaccurate. I believe this is coming from inaccurate reading of reporting for the Supreme Court of Ohio. It was presented to me earlier this week that of the multiple thousands of cases that we have processed, that I only handled 1,000 of those. That's inaccurate. Those 1,000 cases are cases that went forward as pre-trials, full hearings, trials, hearings in civil court, evictions, things of that nature that I handled. The only times I have not been on the bench and present in court were for the reasons I said before, for trainings, for conflict cases, or for personal illness. Believe it or not, sometimes judges do get sick. Additionally, the Board of Professional Conduct, I reached out to them to ensure that we weren't having additional ethical issues in the court, and they advised that I should recuse myself from any case involving my opponent after the primary. So I did so, and that's approximately 12 cases. So that would account for 12 different times of visiting judges. As far as, I don't want to focus on all of these negative things, but I need to respond to them as well. This policy that's being claimed of allowing medical marijuana went into place under the former judge. I have worked to dial that back and reassess that situation. We are no longer allowing that sort of thing in Tiffin Fostoria Municipal Court. Recovery is too important. We are not allowing that. I'm very clear with folks that come into court that medical marijuana and marijuana in general is still not accepted on municipal court probation. And as far as Pivot Drug Recovery Court, I have, since being judge, I have referred well over 30 folks to that program. I've had approximately, I think, 15 or 16 admissions, and I'm not the only judge who makes that decision. There is a panel of 3 judges, Judge Alt, Judge Schuff, and myself, make those decisions of who gets admitted, and there's very strict guidelines about who gets admitted. So I want the public to be aware that those things are very inaccurate. Since I was appointed judge, I've heard all types of cases through municipal court. I've heard them from arraignment, which are dozens and dozens of cases every week, all the way through trial in the criminal and traffic matters. I've heard small claims matters, civil matters, eviction proceedings, garnishments, and felony preliminary hearings. I've done all of this with minimal assistance from the visiting judges, no acting judges. In the past, there have been multiple acting judges in this court, and I do not have a full-time magistrate. I don't have a magistrate at all. Many municipal courts not only have a full-time judge, they have a full-time magistrate, and believe it or not, they still use visiting judges. So I've saved the community, and the community as a whole, significant amounts of funds throughout my time as judge. As far as the improvements that I have made since I've become the judge, like I said before, we have upgraded the probation system through a grant through the Supreme Court. That was no additional cost for that system. That allows more folks to check in with Fostoria's Division of Probation more regularly so that we can have more access. I've instituted a driving under suspension docket to help folks with their suspended license issues so that we can have valid drivers on the city streets. I've also instituted a zoning review docket where I meet one-on-one with people that have zoning issues and property maintenance issues so that we can ensure that those issues are fixed going forward. So we're not going to have property issues and slumlord issues. Based on all of this and my plans for the future, I do plan to expand some of the services here in Fostoria. Specifically, I want to expand the security measures that are in place for the Fostoria Division of the Municipal Court. The security is very lax. There needs to be more metal detectors. There needs to be more security for the citizens that come into that courtroom. So I'm going to be exploring a grant from the Supreme Court with hopefully some assistance of folks in Fostoria to have that in place.
Thank you. We will now move to the school board candidates, and you will have 3 minutes each. Mr. Shaver?
Well, I asked for your vote on November 7th, and I wish good luck to the rest of my candidates, but it boils down to one thing, really. It's, do you like the way the school is run? If so, vote for the same people. If not, you need new people to make new things happen. So that's all I got.
Thank you. You all have 3 minutes.
I would like to thank the Chamber and Fostoria Community Schools for hosting this event this evening. In closing, I believe I am the best person suitable for the job. I'm an active member in the school and the community. I'm a member on the YMCA board, a member of the Rotary Club. I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I was recently asked to be on the Greater Fostoria Community Foundation. I tutor and mentor for Project More. This will be my 3rd year doing that at the elementary school. I am a volunteer at the YMCA for track, and we just started the very first cross-country program at the YMCA. I have judged DECA here at Fostoria Community Schools for 2 years. This will be my 3rd year doing that. I previously was a coach here at the school for junior high track and cross-country. I'm a current Redmond Club member, which is a local nonprofit that we put money towards the community athletes. I am a parade participant. We have won the best float for the Halloween and Christmas parades. I am here to bring more accountability and oversight to the board. We need to ensure the board is working in the best interests of the students and the community. I have strong leadership and problem-solving skills that are essential with the position for the school board. My reason for running for school board began years ago when my child was struggling in the classroom. A couple years down the road, we recently found out it was because she had ADHD. While taking the necessary steps parents are to take when their child is struggling, I also decided to get more involved to see what was happening inside of the school. So I became a tutor and mentor for other students that were also struggling academically. Then I dove a little deeper into the school and I started coaching. Finally, I started attending the school board meetings regularly to hear if what the administration was telling the board was what I was seeing as a parent, as a volunteer, and as a coach. My findings have moved me to be here today and to be an advocate for the teachers, for the students, and the parents that do not have a voice. My goal as a school board member is to improve our school report card and bring back pride to our community. I know we can do this by working together, being aware, being open, and being careful to focus on our mission and goals. My name is Nicole Jones, and I respectfully ask for your vote for school board on November 7th.
Thank you. Dr. Guernsey, you'll have 3 minutes.
All righty. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight, and thank you for asking us all to be here. So I want to ask for your vote on November 7th. 16 years ago, when I started on the board, as a district, we had a lot of financial insecurities. We had a lot of aging facilities that needed fixed. We had a lot of issues with our curriculum. We had no current curriculum that wasn't been developed in a number of years. So you look at what things that we've accomplished in the last 16 years. We've become very financially stable. We've obviously improved all of our facilities. We have a curriculum director, and we constantly are looking and evaluating our curriculum on a regular cycle now. We have brought in the one-to-one initiative, which basically means we have technology, a device for every student, working on different things for all ends of the spectrum, whether you are a lower functioning student or a gifted student. Things that we've done to partner with different areas in the community, bringing in things such as the Leader in Me and 4DX, which is the 4 disciplines of execution. So there's a lot of different things that we've been working on the last 16 years since I've been on the board. I know that's a long time. Maybe people think it's time for a change. I hope that you all still have your faith in me, and I ask for your vote on November 7th to allow us to continue to work on our vision here, which is to inspire, succeed, and leave a legacy. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now give City Council 3 minutes each for their closing statements. Mr. Podek.
Thank you to the Chamber and to all of you that came out tonight. Being a business manager and a small business owner and being involved in daily customer service, I think it qualifies me to be on City Council. You have to listen, you have to figure out what the people need, what they want, and if it can be done. One of the biggest problems is that sometimes you get the person who is making a lot of noise and it's all just for them. And we have to remember that the services, the money that comes in for taxes, and our budgets and our allocations and our spending should be for the masses and everyone that's here. I'm in the middle of a 12-week Constitution class, and it's been very interesting from the standpoint of what our forefathers wanted to have in this country when they formed it. But I want you all to know that as citizens and taxpayers, that you have a say, your voice matters. Please engage yourselves. As for myself, I've been going to council meetings for the last 2 years, and I haven't been quiet. And I will continue that, and I will continue not to be quiet. Sometimes you have to speak up. Sometimes you have to at least speak up, even if you're wrong. Once in a while, I've been wrong. But I will tell you this, that I will be accountable to you. I commit myself to work for you. I will communicate, and I will do everything I can to be transparent with the community and with the rest of the administration. That being said, it is election year, and we do have issues on the ballot, and I look forward to everyone to be educated on those. We had a town hall meeting in town on Monday night on issue 1. There's another one on Thursday in Tiffin at the Camden Falls. So if you feel like you just don't know what issue 1 and issue 2 are, I offer up that you should know what it's all about, because there is some things in those that take away some parental rights. There's also the marijuana bill was written by out-of-state interests and is funded by out-of-state interests. The state of Ohio, it probably see very little, if no, income from that other than sales tax. So just be educated, get out there and find out what you need to know, and make sure you vote. Thank you for everyone being here.
Thank you. Mr. Hall, you have 3 minutes.
Again, thank you all for being here, and
Happy to be here myself. I moved to the city 5 years ago and have enjoyed it ever since. My roots run deep here. My great-grandparents lived here, grandparents, parents all lived here. Now as a citizen, I'd like to take that next step as the Fostoria City Council at large. Let's continue the forward progress that we're seeing in town, this positive direction. I look forward to doing everything in my power to make that happen. I ask for your vote November 7th, Braden Hall, Fostoria City Council at large. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cassidy, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. As I mentioned in my introduction, I moved away from Fostoria for a while, moved back in 2015, and it was almost to the day. And I woke up my first morning, and I was just delighted. I will never forget that morning because I was home. I was home. You can take the boy out of Fostoria, but you can't take the Fostoria out of the boy. Sounds kind of funny, but I think in a lot of respects it's true. Fostoria is a great town. The thing that makes it really great is the people. This is the most giving, friendliest community that you will ever find in this country, I guarantee it. I want to see us move forward. I want to see us move Fostoria back to some of the more prosperous days that I was exposed to as a kid. We can make that happen. We've got a lot of positive things happening right now. Obviously, all 3 of us will get elected. I will get reelected. These 2 gentlemen are going to serve their first term. I'm delighted to have them on council with me. I feel like they're going to make a tremendous contribution. We're going to move Fostoria forward. I do want your support. I do want your vote. And I also ask that if you have the time or the interest to get engaged in this community, take part in some of the things that are going on. Come down to council. Come down and see what we do. And don't be afraid to ask questions. And don't be afraid to tell us what you think. Again, I appreciate your time this evening. One other thing I'd like to say, you're going to be faced with another decision that's going to be a history maker for Fostoria. And you're going to have to decide whether you're going to get a pro in or we're going to turn Fostoria into amateur night. Thank you.
Mr. Schaefer, you have 3 minutes.
Fostoria is my home. I've lived here for 33 years. I've traveled enough to know that Fostoria is a place where I find my peace. I love the diversity of people and their different perspectives. I love the music and the good food, the feeling of safety, knowing that we have amazing police, fire, and EMT, and a staff hospital available in an emergency. I love going for walks and looking at gold trees and the architecture. And most of all, I love Fostoria's rich history in automotive, trains, gas, glass, and much more. When I think of the future of Fostoria, I get excited, knowing that we get to improve upon the previous successors and previous successes of the Fostorians who came before us. I will continue to build on the relationships that I've built, whether it be with city, township, county, or state officials. I would catch up on knowledge and current and future projects for Fostoria and create a plan of communication to convey that information back to the public. Fostoria needs a person to represent their people, who isn't afraid to stand up for their needs and put them first. We have a number of opportunities throughout the city, some of which are being resolved every day. I would listen, understand, collaborate, and create a strategy to overcome obstacles that we may have. Fostoria has a major role, and as the mayor, it's a significant responsibility to the citizens to help them succeed. We We have some big changes happening in Ohio, and now is Fostoria's time to show world heritage, culture, arts, music, and natural beauty in its cuisine. We have countless opportunities ahead of us, and I want to reiterate that I am here for you, and in public service, there's no room for self-interest. If the question is, what is best for me? That's the wrong question. I try to do the best thing and the right thing. Please vote for me this next election on November 7th. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you. Mr. Manel, you also have 3 minutes.
Again, thank you for coming out tonight and listening to this forum. In closing, I would like to highlight just a few of the resolutions I brought to City Council this year. First, I led the charge to get Fostoria out from under the Wood County Building Department for commercial building permits. I participated in phone calls with Seneca County Commissioners. When the resolution passed unanimously, my opponent stood before City Council and literally asked, what just happened? I wrote the finance investment resolution that allowed the city to invest excess funds in money market instruments, bringing significant sums of money into the city in a rising interest rate market. I not only wrote the resolutions in support of Senate Bill 119, I wrote the letter to Bill Reinecke in mid-March, telling him about the problems we had with the landfill and telling him about the problems that Seneca County had with regards to the Ottawa-Sandusky-Seneca County Solid Waste District. At the end of March, I had breakfast with Senator Reinecke, Seneca County Commissioner Bill Frankert, and Mayor Eric Keckler. Senator Reinecke laid out for us what his thoughts were regarding how he was going to write Senate Bill 119, and we gave him the go-ahead because we felt he was very creative in coming up with a solution to our problems. I testified before the Senate committee as well as the House committee in support of that Senate Bill 119. I recruited Steve Danduran to serve as our city financial director, and I think he'll do a great job. I get things done. My opponent has never held a job for more than 2 years, has never supervised people, has never put together a budget or been held accountable to meet a budget, has never negotiated a union contract or a construction contract, has never served on a nonprofit board of trustees, much less a company board of directors, does not follow the rules of order, and has never had to conduct a meeting or lead people. I have done all of the above with credible results. How could we in good conscience trust him with a city budget of $25 million and the supervision of almost 80 city employees? For these reasons, I am asking for your vote for Mayor of Fostoria. As discussed in my opening statement, Fostoria has a number of large ongoing projects that we cannot afford to see ruined, in addition to the innumerable new projects we are poised to accomplish over the next 4 years. 2 of these will be announced before year end. Now is not the time for rookie leadership. I bring a proven track record and look forward to leading the city over the next 4 years of growth and excitement in Fostoria. Thank you, and God bless you.
Again, we would like to thank all of the candidates for attending tonight's candidate forum. Thank you all for your participation. And a special thank you again goes to Fostoria City Schools for allowing us to use the PAC, and to Matt Sorchek for his assistance with our sound and lighting, and also to Zach Stump from Scanner Media for assisting us with recording the event as well. Again, please vote on November 7th. Thank you all for coming.